Welcome back, Patriots. Welcome back to Sons of Liberty 1773. This is indeed where men and women from around the world gather in defense of liberty. I am your host, Bill Bailey, who will be channeling the patriotism of America's founding fathers, such as Sam Adams, who on November 20th, 1772, wrote his Rights of the Colonist report. I just posted this whole piece that he wrote in the community post. It's about a 5-minute read. Please take time to read it. Profound words, just as resonating today as they were in 1772 when they were living under their tyrannical government. But in that piece, Rights of the Colonist report, he wrote, "The natural liberty of man is to be free from any superior power on earth and not to be under the will or legislative authority of man, but only to have the law of nature for his rule." And he wrote this in there as well. "The colonists have been branded with odious names of traitors and rebels, only for complaining of their grievances." Now, folks, if I change one word there, or if I change the colonist, let's change it to the America First Patriots, okay? The America First Patriots have been branded with odious names of traitors and rebels, only for complaining of their grievances. Still works, don't it? It's because we're living under tyranny. So a lot of things I want to get over. I want to share some clips from a Tucker interview. It's actually crazy. Actually, it was Adam Carolla interviewing Tucker Carlson, but there's three clips I've got keyed up. You have to hear them. Where to start? There's so much going on. World War III is imminent. The economy is crashing. It appears GM, Chrysler, Ford, and the UAW are going to strike. The housing crash is coming, folks. I've been saying this. Somebody brought up a good scenario because I wasn't quite sure what was going to start the crash. But what I've seen, and I own, Renee and I own short-term rentals. But there's been a big push by people, with a lot more money than me, to invest in real estate. And they've been capitalizing on these short-term rentals because there's so much money in them. So they've been taking their money, they're scared of the market, and driving up the real estate, right? They've been buying homes and turning them into short-term rentals because it's lucrative at the moment. There's not many homes on the market, supply and demand. Houses are selling for, in my opinion, way more money than they're, truly worth. And I mean, we're in the biggest real estate bubble I've ever seen. So what in this scenario, the people that that have bought up all these properties and are doing short-term rentals, the market's saturated now with short-term rentals, and they're gonna try to be ahead of the curve. Well, I better sell our properties now and capitalize on this inflated real estate market. Because rentals aren't, there's so many of them now, they're not creating as much rental income once you slice up the pie. So they're going to start selling, and that's going to start the domino effect. I think that scenario is very likely. And inflation is up. They just got a bad jobs report. The whole economy is a great big facade. It's a mirage. And the curtain's going to be pulled back, and this thing's going to collapse. And when it does, it's going to collapse badly. My opinion, I'm not a economist. I'm just giving you my opinion. Do your own research, but be smart with your money, folks. What else do I have on? Oh, Harrison Ford, thank God, was just released on bond this morning. One of the 19 or whatever indicted by, the communist in Atlanta, Georgia, Fannie Willis or whatever her name is. He was finally able to make bond. He is going to do a press release tomorrow at the Atlanta courthouse, I think. But they're railroading him. You know what his crime is? You know what Harrison Floyd's crime is? He's a MAGA supporter, supporting Trump. He's an American patriot. And then, I've been saying, and we're going to get into it on this Tucker piece, that my concern is the walls close in on Biden. McCarthy's saying now he's not even going to bring it up for a House vote. He's just going to start an impeachment inquiry. I don't know if he has that power. Apparently he does. I hope he does, because I'm going to tell you, I don't think much of McCarthy. And unless I see some real action from him with results, not just, I just think he's a California commie with an R by his name, but I hope I'm wrong, by the way. But anyways, Tucker, I'm going to tell you, thank you, Fox News, for firing Tucker Carlson and breaking him free so he can actually say what's on his mind and do the interviews with the people he wants to interview. He was over in Hungary, interviewed their prime minister, Viktor Orban, and Viktor said, a very dangerous moment. A third world war is knocking on the door. Russia just suffered massive drone attacks. These drones are going in and bombing Russia. You keep poking the bear. Look, I don't like Putin. Okay, I don't like him. I'm not the guy. They are a nuclear nation with more sophisticated nuclear weapons than we have. Hypersonic nuclear weapons that we're not going to knock out of the air, folks. State destroy. It's like they have like the Death Star. They've built the Death Star, this Satan II missile that can take out a state the size of Texas. That can create their their nuclear drone torpedo, which has basically got the Satan II in it, can wipe out the east coast of America. This is who they're prodding. You got to be smart. And this ain't our war. We caused the problem. Not us, but these criminal administration, Biden, and even before him, put a puppet government in there. Obama's involved in it, obviously, right? And we've meddled over there. And Putin don't like it. I don't blame him. But my concern is the walls close in on Biden, and they are closing in really quickly. He's feeling the weight on his chest right now. I mean, he's going down. He's going down big time. My fear is they're going to start a war. They're going to start a war and get us, assholes and elbows in a bloody war on a battlefield in Europe that ends badly for not only America but the whole world to stay in power. And I'm going to tell you one of these clips I'm going to share here in a second with Tucker Carlson says that exact thing. So I just wanted to look at my notes here. I think that was everything I wanted to touch base on. All right, let's get to it, folks. Oh, before I forget, Mike Lindell is under vicious attack. Lawsuits, they're suing him, the voting machine company, for billions. They're suing the My Pillow employs all Americans. Mike is a good guy, and he's been a warrior, right, for election integrity. Every day, that's what's driving this guy to save this country. And we have to help Mike. And he makes an incredible product. All of the stuff you buy at My Pillow will improve your life. It will be, with all the stress and stuff in this world, you need a good night's sleep. So I like the percale sheets, which he said they're going to be discontinuing, but they still have them. They are awesome. If you buy those in the My Pillows, you will get the best sleep you've had in years, if not ever. But they have the mattress toppers, the dog beds, the slippers and all that. So go give Mike some love and use promo code SOL1773. Promo code SOL1773. So before we get into the Tucker Carlson interview, this man here lost his child from Biden doing that botched, treasonous pullout out of Afghanistan. And he says what's on his mind here to Congress, and I want you to hear it. And these Gold Star moms and dads are going to be going to Bedminster, I think that's the name of Trump's golf course, to meet with Trump. Somebody that actually respects them and mourns with them, for them, their loved ones, and the loss of their loved ones, and like all Americans that feel their pain. That pullout out of Afghanistan was absolutely treasonous, folks. The definition of treason: aiding and abetting our enemy. He left the Taliban $80 billion of our weapons. And I'm worried between the weapons that are being dumped into Ukraine, and we're not replenishing. If we got to go to war with China, which is looking more and more likely, he's draining our ammunition stockpiles. And I'm worried that a surface-to-air shoulder-mounted missile, that some of them are going to make it into America. And I'll tell you why I'm worried about that when we get into this. These 3 clips I have on Adam Carolla interviewing Tucker Carlson. But this man, listen to this guy's words. It's just, it pulls at your heartstrings. I just feel so bad for his man. I feel his anger. Here we go.
2 years has gone by, and where are we? To be frank, we're knee-deep in bullshit, is where we are. Everyone who held a key position in the military still has that position or has been promoted. John Kirby still sits on his perch, which apparently faces the opposite direction from where all the action was. Blinken continues to delay key evidence by ignoring delaying subpoenas. Not a single general slapped down their stars, which should have happened 2 years ago when Biden ignored his reliable intelligence. Not a single person has been held accountable. Our so-called leader can't seem to even utter their names in public, not even once. Mr. Biden has run his entire political campaign for 50 years as the family man. Well, I've got news for you, sir. The curtain has been lifting, and that campaign slogan will never work again. We have seen what's going on in your family, and even worse, we've seen how you've been treating us as Gold Star families. And there couldn't be anything more disgusting and cowardly than the way you have treated us. You are a disgrace to this nation. You have no business having ultimate command over our military, and I regret not saying that to your face when I had the opportunity in Dover. I felt it more important to bite my tongue, but I also had more important things on my mind at that time, like receiving my son's lifeless body stateside. While I stood there on the tarmac, watching you check your watch over and over again, all I wanted to do was shout out, "It's 2:30, asshole." But out of respect to the other grieving families, I bit my tongue once again. Well, as you could probably tell by now, I'm done biting my tongue. You, sir, stole their lives, their futures, their dreams, and have ripped apart 13 families. You cannot even man up and admit that. You, sir, gave us all the title Gold Star family. You, sir, discredit honor and integrity.
Powerful, huh? I feel for Mark Schmitz and his family. Just an unnecessary loss of one of our heroes. And remember that? Biden, the coffins are coming down. He's sitting there. I just seen the one image of him looking at his watch, but Mark Schmitz is saying, kept looking at his watch. We have the worst, most corrupt president in the history of America. I believe he's completely compromised. Believe he's a asset of the CCP. Why is he still in office? Why are they him-hawing around in Washington, D.C.? Why hasn't he been impeached? Unbelievable. But my prayers go out to this family and all the families that lost their loved ones or their sons or daughters were, not just killed, but came home missing an arm or an eye or, brain trauma because of Biden. So let's get into these. These are some powerful clips from Tucker Carlson. So
2 years has gone by, and where are we?
Hang on, folks. Sorry. Let me stop that. Get rid of that. All right. Let's go to this one.
Here's my view of it. I think the lies are unsustainable. Lying is always unsustainable. You're always found out in the end, whether in your lifetime or posthumously. But lies are always revealed by their nature. And these lies are so big and so obvious and so stupid that it's going to be very clear to the majority of voters before the election that the Biden administration has no idea what it's doing, that Joe Biden is not running the government, and that it's not working at all. And I think by that point, we're going to have a real economic contraction. I think we're going to be in the teeth of a very tough recession, and that makes everything much more intense. And so if your goal is to maintain power, and if you think once you relinquish power, the problem with criminalizing politics is the people who do it imagine or know that it will be done to them. So once you start indicting your political opponents, you know that you have to win or else they're going to indict you if they win, right?
Right.
And so they can't lose. They will do anything to win. So how do they do that? They're not going to do COVID again. I know everyone on the right's afraid they're going to do COVID and mask mandate. They're not going to do that. They can't do that. If they've already been exposed, that won't work. There's going to be, no, what are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia is what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And
really?
Yes, of course. They want it anyway. I don't think we'll win it, but that's a separate analysis. But I think it's a political matter. They need to declare war footing in order to assume war powers in order to win. I believe that. And I think the evidence suggests that's true. So if you're worried about our politics getting even more vicious than it already is, and people being hurt in our politics, which is entirely possible, you should be worried about the prospect of an open war. We're already at war with Russia, of course. We're funding their enemies. So we're fighting Russia. But I mean, an open battle with Russia where we say we're at war with Russia. I think that could easily happen. I think we could Tonkin Gulf our way into it, where all of a sudden missiles land in Poland. The Russians did it. Our NATO ally has been attacked. We're going to war. I could see that happening very easily. So if you're worried about that, you need to put as much pressure as you possibly can on the Republican-held Senate to force a peace, which can be done. The United States could force a peace in Ukraine tonight. We're funding one side. There is no Ukrainian army outside of NATO.
Right.
If NATO withdrew its support for Ukraine, Ukraine would crumble in a day. So we are the only power in the world that can bring both sides to the table to force a peace, which will be unsatisfactory as all forced peaces are. Like each side will give more than it wants, but that's the only option. Otherwise, I would bet my house on it. We are going to war with Russia. And of course, the stakes are everything, our life on the planet. I mean, these are the two biggest nuclear arsenals in the world facing off against each other. So this is insane. They're insane. These are people who think men can become women, who believe that face masks save you from COVID. I mean, these are not rational people. Would they go to war with Russia? Of course they would. Again, they want to anyway. And I don't know why Republicans don't get this at all, but they don't seem to get it. And meanwhile, Republican leaders, and Mitch McConnell's senile too, so I don't even blame him, but all the stupid Republican senators and McCarthy in the House, I mean, it's pathetic. These people are all on board with the war against Russia. Why?
Well, I think it may even be scarier because you say they believe masks work or they believe men can become women and so on and so forth. I don't know that they believe that. I think it may be worse. I think they can say or do anything to hang on to power.
Their view of Russia is very, and I can say this as someone who was, against the Soviets when it mattered, when they existed. But I'm maybe the only person in the United States who doesn't really have very strong feelings about Russia. I'm not that interested in Russia. I don't see it as our enemy or ally. I just don't have strong emotions about Russia. So I look at this and I see true hysteria. They've convinced themselves that our global enemy is Russia. And I really think they mean that. And certainly the Republicans mean it. The Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, the low IQ wing of the Republican Party, which is most of the Republican Party, is low IQ at the leadership level. They all think that and they mean it. And like someone needs to slap them awake. You're leading this country to its destruction. We've already lost control of the world. The American empire's in free fall right now, and we're going to lose the US dollar. And when that happens, we're going to have real poverty here, like Great Depression level poverty. And it comes from this war. And I don't understand why no one else can see this, but it's super obvious once you leave. Spend a week in Europe and talk to smart people on both sides. Like, it doesn't matter what their politics are, and ask them, like, what effect do you think the war in Ukraine has had on American leadership in Europe? Dude. And by the way, Western Europe is our only reliable ally in the world. We only have one real ally, and that's Western Europe. And Western Europe is being destroyed by this. The German economy was crushed when the Biden administration blew up Nord Stream. I know nobody cares, but if you think like long term about this, they're really kicking the legs out from under this country in a way that is not possible to repair, at least in the short term.
Incredible. It's what I've been saying, folks. They want this hot war with Russia. The industrial military complex profits from it. They buy politicians. War pays. Part of it's that. Part of it's globalism. And I'm going to tell you, I've had in the back of my mind, China and Russia have never been friends. I don't know if you know that. They're getting along now, but they're really have never been friends. They're mortal enemies. And I've always thought China is using America to take out one of their enemies, Russia. That's what's going on. I mean, that's just my opinion. But how long have I been saying, my concern is they're going to take us to, my New Year's prediction for 2023 was the greatest depression in World War III. And Tucker's echoing what I'm thinking. Now, will it happen this year? It may end up being next, but we need Trump back. We need Trump back yesterday. Trump said he could end this in 24 hours, and I believe he can, just because of what Tucker said. Ukraine, if we take away our funding in the weapons of war we're sending there, they're done. And so a peace deal can be made rather quickly. And Trump said, I'll end this war in 24 hours. He means it. But we have an administration that wants the war. I mean, they're just evil people. I don't know you can't make sense out of it. They're godless communists. I mean, just unreal. So let's get into this next. This was a great interview by Adam Carolla too. Let's go to this one.
What do you think the future holds? Is it?
I don't know.
I mean, are they going to let Trump be president?
No, of course. I mean, look. If, they protested him, they called him names. He won anyway. They impeached him twice on ridiculous pretenses. They fabricated a lot about what happened on January 6th in order to impeach him again. It didn't work. He came back. Then they indicted him. It didn't work. He became more popular. Then they indicted him 3 more times. And every single time his popularity rose. So if you begin with criticism, then you go to protest, then you go to impeachment, now you go to indictment, and none of them work. What's next? I mean, graph it out, man. We're speeding toward assassination, obviously, and no one will say that, but I don't know how you can reach that conclusion. You know what I mean? Like, they have decided, permanent Washington, both parties have decided that there's something about Trump that's so threatening to them, they just can't have him. I mean, they're putting him on trial in March of next year in the J6 case, which basically consists of trying to send him to prison for the rest of his life for complaining about the last election. That's literally what it is. Again, if this were happening in Moldova, the State Department would issue an all-hands-on-deck order to let the world know this is not a legitimate government. And yet our government is doing it. It's like it's hard to overstate how bad this is. And I don't know where it's going, but there's a collision that's clearly imminent. And by the way, the president is senile in a way that's impossible to deny. Biden's not running the government, so like I don't know. I've never been this worried about anything as I am about where this is going.
Right. So think of what Tucker just said. They've impeached him twice. BS charges didn't go anywhere. They've indicted him now 4 times. They've tried everything. Graph it out. Quote, graph it out. We are speeding towards assassination, and that's my biggest threat or biggest worry with Trump, is they're gonna kill him. I'd seen Christina Bobb. I've said this in a couple videos at the Republican convention. She was there to support Matt DePerno. I said, Christina, I'm worried about Trump, just because of what Tucker said. I go, they've tried everything except JFK in him. And she goes, well, he gets it. And he's extremely cautious and he has great security. But, he flies that plane, Trump Force One everywhere, right? If I was his security team, any of the vehicles Trump travels in, the jet, his planes, they've got to be under 24-hour security. And then I'm worried about, a surface-to-air missile making it into this country. I mean, there's been attempts on Trump's life. Some crazy Canadian, I think, just got put in jail for making an attempt on Trump's life. But there's been attempts. Some of them we know about, most we don't. But I can tell you, I've heard from a good source. They've been there. But I think these are like triggered leftists. They're not financed and organized by the deep state. And that's the one I'm worried about. So, pray for Trump's safety, that God will keep a hedge of protection around him and his family. But wow, I mean, like Tucker said, I'm the most scared I've ever been in my lifetime about where this is heading. I mean, I think we all should be, but we also have to be engaged in the battle. We have to fight, or we're do what we can to fight this tyranny. And then this, I'm going to tell you, I did not know. I did not know this. What he's going to share in this video.
Everybody I knew, the world I lived in Northwest DC, like everyone works either directly for the government or is a parasite on government effectively, including people I love and know really well. And the media is too, by the way. I mean, the media is reporting on government, but it's also dependent on government. In 2008, it became really clear that Barack Obama had been having sex with men and smoking crack. And a guy came forward, Larry Sinclair, and said, I'll sign an affidavit. And he did. I'll take a lie detector. And he did. I smoked crack with Barack Obama and had sex with him. Well, that was obviously true. Nobody reported it, not because they were squeamish about sex or drugs, but because the Obama campaign said anyone who reports on this gets no access to the Obama campaign. And so they didn't report on it. So that happens. That's just one small example, but that happens all the time with lots of different issues.
Now,
and
do you believe that transpired, or do you believe the guy is legitimate, or both?
Oh, the Larry Sinclair story? Oh, that definitely happened. Oh, for sure. I mean, I've talked to Larry Sinclair about it, and definitely it happened. I mean, Larry Sinclair's been in and out of prison during one period. I mean, 40 years ago, he was in and out of prison. He's got a criminal record by definition. He's, poor. He's got a disordered life. He's missing a tooth. Like, he's not, an Atlantic fellow. He's not going to the Aspen Ideas Festival. I think he has a record of deception. Obviously, he does. But this story, if you listen to it in detail, is clearly true. I mean, I'm going to do an interview with him and you can hear it. And again, it's not going to change the world that Barack Obama likes dudes. I think this was well known. Barack Obama said so himself in a letter to his girlfriend. And by the way, that's kind of Barack Obama's business. I'm not attacking him for liking dudes. I'm just saying the amount of lying in the media about it was unbelievable. Like, people knew this was true, and it was quite obviously true at the time. And people who covered the campaign didn't say anything about it because they didn't want to lose access to the campaign. And that happens all the time up and down government. So it's almost like if you have a housekeeper, you think, she works for me. But if you have a housekeeper long enough, you realize, well, you actually work for her, and you get caught up in her dramas. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
there's a weird dynamic where you switch places with people.
No, and by the way, fire her abruptly and she'll write it.
Okay. All right, you get the idea. So, I didn't know that this. I never knew. Maybe you guys do. I didn't about this Larry Sinclair, who said he had sex with Barack Obama, smoked crack with him, said I'll sign an affidavit and take a lie detector, and he did, So it makes really clear, because I've always thought Obama's pulling Biden, because Biden can't think for himself anymore. I mean, he's, his brain scrambled. He's got full-on dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever you want to call it, but he doesn't know if he's coming or going. But this explains all the woke stuff, right? That's been coming, the gender crap and stuff that's been pushed from this administration. It goes right back to Obama. So maybe, Michelle is Big Mike. I mean, I don't know. I've seen some of the images out there. I mean, looks like there's some junk below the belt line to me, but crazy. And Ted Nugent said, you will not find a picture of their two kids when they were like infants with, Michelle holding the little baby and stuff. He goes, I can make a bet that you'll never find one because they don't exist. So, bizarre times we are living in. Everything that we're dealing with in the world right now goes to this criminal administration. We have one fighter that the fate of America and the free world depends on his success or failure, and that's Donald Trump. Steve Bannon brought up, and a good point, and I agree with this. There's been 3 transitional presidencies where the fate of the nation, whether the nation failed or succeeded, depended on whether that president failed or succeeded in their presidency. And the first one was George Washington, that gave birth to the nation. Second one, Abraham Lincoln, that held the nation together. And the third one is happening right now. We are living history. And if we don't get Trump reelected, we're in deep mamu, and I pray for his safety. Because the left is going to lose everything. People are going to prison. Glenn Beck just asked Trump, are you going to imprison these people that have wronged you? And he basically said, I have to. He said they're criminals. And I agree with that. It's not a matter of where you're going after your political opponent wrongly like Biden does. There's a time when you go after these people because they're criminals. The Biden administration needs to be held criminally liable. These rogue prosecutors need to be held liable. And I want to see them. I want to see some real justice. And I'll tell you, there is a great awakening in black communities. And if you don't think so, go watch some of the videos of Trump's entourage from the airport to the Atlanta courthouse where he had to turn himself in. Atlanta, in black neighborhoods, were lining up on the sidewalks, cheering Trump, yelling, "Free Trump." There's these TikTok videos, these little clips, one after the other of black Americans saying they're voting for Trump. Trump has been wrongfully indicted, like many of them have been, and so there's a connection there to see that they can relate to with Trump. And Trump created jobs and wealth for all Americans, Black, Asian, Hispanics. Every demographic was doing better under Trump. And Trump is the one, look at Trump, other than George Washington, is the only president I know that rejected presidential pay. Washington rejected the pay, ended up taking, because he put out a lot of his own money for buying stuff and equipment because the government didn't have any money. And he finally agreed to take back his expenses. But he never took, per se, a paycheck. Trump has to take his check. He says he does by law, but he just donates it. When he was president, the real battle started at his inauguration when he said This time it's different. We're taking the power away from these criminals in Washington, D.C. and giving it back to the people where it belongs. And that's when the real battle. I mean, you could see Clintons, Obamas, the Bushes, all, like, but we have a real warrior in Donald Trump. And they're doing this lawfare. I think March 5th is Super Tuesday. They're made the one date March 4th, and I thought that was cute, like March 4th to remove Trump. But it's all election interference. And I think they need to combine all these 4 indictments. I think Trump should get them to the Supreme Court and say this is pure election interference. These are all radical Democrats that are coming after me, and it's all bullshit. And we're going to lose our country if you don't stop this stuff. And maybe we can get some justice at the Supreme Court and they can put an end to it. But I'm going to tell you, folks, it is going to get more and more heated every day, okay, as we march forth to Election Day. You ain't seen nothing yet. And my real concern is going to be, has been, that Biden administration is going to do something really stupid to try to stay in power. And Tucker just echoed my concerns. They're gonna get us in a hot war with Russia. Ukraine's out of men. I mean, out of warm bodies. I mean, they're just throwing everything to the meat grinder. They're down like, I think I've heard 400,000 men they've lost to Russia's 50,000. They have like 2 million wounded that probably won't be returning to the battlefield. So they're out of warm bodies. And Biden and these warmongers are hell-bent on a war with Russia. It's just absolutely stupid and terrifying that these people are this ignorant, and they may pull it off. And, we're a terrorist nation. We blew up Russia's pipeline. Well, what the hell, man? Seriously. We condemn nations that do that type of stuff, and now we're one of them. Just for all you people that are watching that from other, this isn't the America that you hopefully know or recognize as, and we're no different. This isn't the America that men fought and died for. This administration, they're just a tyrannical regime, and one thing about Americans is. We bleed patriotism, and we covet our God-given liberties and individual rights, and we ain't giving them up, period. So we've been through some hard times before in this country, but I really feel we're facing the most seditious enemy we've ever faced right now. But I believe we'll be victorious. We just got to stay engaged. Pray for Trump's safety. I mean, put that in your prayer list every night. Pray for God uses Trump as his tool to restore justice in this country and righteousness. Otherwise, darkness is going to settle in on the world that I don't believe humanity's ever seen. Be worse than the Dark Ages, and that's saying a lot. So keep prepping and keep praying. You heard Tucker. They're taking us into a hot war with Russia, and they're leading us into a bad recession. I believe a depression. I believe it'll be the greatest depression. And so while times are good now, and you got, as good as they are, you got some money, the grocery stores shelves are stocked. Be stocking up on stuff. You're a fool if you're not. I mean that. You are a fool. And then I hear people put in the comments, well, I can't do anything. I don't have any money. You can come up with some money to buy rice. You can go to Costco and buy 50-pound bags of white rice. A couple $100, you can have a good start. Big bags of white rice and dry beans and some sort of water filtration. There's a start, and then build on that. But I'm going to tell you, the preppers that got 2 or 3 years and think they got enough, they probably don't. So at least have a year minimum. That's what you need to get. I used to tell people 30 days. You need to have a year minimum worth of preps and work, I believe, toward 5 years of preps. And if it goes really crazy, and that may not even be enough, but at least for every day of preps you put up, you're buying a day to figure it out how you're going to replace it. So if you have 30 days, that's not much time. If you have a year to 5 years of preps, well, now you got a lot of time because you're just not using those preps. I mean, you're trying to figure out how to grow a garden and harvest a deer and, that type of stuff, and can and process. And especially, just having that stockpile is a stress that you can at least alleviate some. Saying, hey, I can't control the craziness in the world, but I can prepare for it. And I hope you are. So I'll end it here. I can't say it enough. Keep prepping and keep praying. I'll see you in the next video. God bless everybody. Goodbye.